my friends. Welcome to Calling All Kids. I'm your storyteller, Mrs. Temple. I'm so glad you're here today. This is such an exciting time of the year. It's back to school time. Some of you may be going to school for the first time. That must be so exciting. And then some of you are heading back and are probably excited to see some friends you haven't seen all summer long. And I am so excited because our stories today are about going back to school. And even though we're excited about this time of year, sometimes we might be a little bit nervous or have a little anxious and wondering, what is my teacher going to be like? Will I see any of my friends? Will I meet new friends? Am I going to be able to do all the work the teacher asked me to do? Do you have some of those feelings, like maybe feeling a little anxious or a little nervous? Well, I have a great story for you because you're not alone. A lot of friends feel that way, a little bit nervous and excited about the first day of school. The story we're going to read first today is called Butterflies on the First Day of School. Now, sometimes people say when you're nervous, your tummy may feel a little sore or a little achy. And sometimes people will say that's having butterflies in your stomach. So this is about having those butterflies on that first day of school or just before school starts and you're a little bit nervous. Let's find out what happens to the character in this story. Can you see all the butterflies on? And the school bus? Some of you might be going on the school bus for the first time. Okay, let's find out what happens in our story. Butterflies on the First Day of School. And it's written, the author is Annie Silvestro, and the pictures, the illustrator is Dream Chen. Let's enjoy the story. A month before school, Rosie picked up her very first backpack. It was covered with flowers, and she loved it with all of her heart. Do you have a new backpack to head back to school with this year? She paraded around proudly. Don't worry, she told her sister Emily. Someday you'll be big enough to go to school like me. Rosie practiced raising her hand, writing her letters, and saying her teacher's name. She couldn't wait to start school. But the night before her first day of school, Rosie couldn't sleep. Does it look like she's excited or a little bit nervous? I think she's looking a little bit nervous here. In the morning, Rosie's belly hurt. She didn't touch her chocolate chip pancakes. Her mom made her a special breakfast of chocolate chip pancakes. Maybe I'd better stay home, said Rosie. I don't want Emily to be lonely. She'll be fine, said Mother, and so will you. Rosie shuffled the pancakes around on her plate. Come on, sweetie, said her dad. Time to go. Rosie slowly pulled on her backpack. I don't feel well, she said. You just have butterflies in your belly, said her mother, hugging her tight. Butterflies? Said Rosie. Do you think Rosie's thinking there's real butterflies in her belly? That's when the bus pulled up. Time for her to go. I love you, said her mom. Have fun, said her dad. Rosie stared nervously out the window. Soon a girl sat down next to her. Hi, I'm Violet, she said. What's your name? Rosie. Do you think this is going to make her feel a little better to meet a new friend? Yes, I hope you will say hi to a new friend on your first day of school. And as she spoke, a butterfly flew from her mouth. Rosie clapped both hands over her face. Are you okay? Rosie nodded. I have Mrs. Mancini, said Violet. Me too, said Rosie. And look, another butterfly flew out of her mouth. Do you think that means that she's starting to feel a little less nervous? The words tumbled out, and two silver butterflies flew out. Rosie watched them flutter down the aisle of the bus. Violet didn't seem to notice. See the butterflies going down the side of the bus? Down the middle of the bus, I should say. Welcome, said Mrs. Mancini as the girls entered the classroom. Hang up your backpacks, then meet me on the rainbow rug. Everyone fidgeted in a circle. Let's get to know each other, said Mrs. Mancini. I'll go first, so I'm sure your teacher's going to introduce herself to you on your first day. I have a golden retriever dog named Barney. I love chocolate cake, and I'm terrified of spiders. Let's see what the other students say, tell about themselves. Violet went next. I'm allergic to dogs, she said, and sometimes to my brother, Alex. This summer, I rode a train for the first time, said Jay. I want to be an astronaut when I grow up, said Allison. The butterflies were building up as Rosie waited for her turn. Suddenly, all eyes were on Rosie. Do you think she's nervous to speak in front of her class for the first time? Let's see. Rosie took a deep breath. I have a baby sister named Emily, she said. 3 butterflies flitted into the air. I love to sing and play soccer. And I wish I had a freezer in my room so I could eat ice cream whenever I want. The class laughed, and Rosie's belly felt a lot better. So she's starting to fit in, and she made the class laugh. After that, Rosie sat at the art table. She painted a flower on a giant easel. She made one for Violet, too. Then they helped Jay build a train out of the blocks. From time to time, butterflies rumbled in Rosie's belly. Occasionally, 1 or 2 would slip out her mouth, but by recess, she could barely feel them anymore. See, as the day went on and as she gets familiar with what's going on, she starts to feel better. I bet that would be the same for you, too. Rosie dashed onto the playground. You're it, she called. Everyone raced around playing tag. But one little girl stood alone under the oak tree. She held her hands on her belly. Do you think Rosie recognizes how she's looking? Is that how Rosie used to look? Rosie walked over to her. Oh, is Rosie being a good friend right now? Let's see. Wanna play? Rosie asked. The girl nodded. I'm Rosie. What's your name? Isabella. As she answered, butterfly after butterfly soared into the sky. Isabella looked up amazed. Feel better? Asked Rosie. Much, said Isabella. Does Rosie understand? Yes, she understands what Isabella's feeling. At the end of the day, Rosie waved goodbye to her friends. She ran off the bus and leaped into her mother's arms. School is so fun, she said. Violet has a flower named like me, and Jay built a train out of blocks. And Isabella had butterflies too. Do you think she has butterflies anymore? Her mother smiled. I can't wait to hear all about it, she said. The words floated out on a shimmering butterfly wings. All the butterflies have gone away. Do you think Rosie is going to have butterflies the next day on the second day of school? No, because now she's familiar. She knows what her teacher looks like, what her name is. She's met new friends in her class. This is going to be just like you. So if you have little butterflies on your first day of school, take a deep breath like Rosie did and just say hi to a friend. And as soon as you start to get familiar with your new classroom and school, those butterflies will go away and you will love going to school. I hope you enjoyed that story. Butterflies on the first day of school. Now I have another story called My School Unicorn. Does your school have a unicorn? I wonder what this means. My school unicorn. Hmm. I know in Ashland they have their mascot is the clocker. I wonder if the school, if that's their mascot, a unicorn. Let's find out. This is written by Willow Evans. She's the author, and the illustrator is Tom Knight. He made the super cool illustrations. Look at the sparkles. Now, at the end, I have a surprise for you at the end of the story. So let's listen carefully, and then I'll share the surprise at the end. You ready? Okay. My school unicorn. My school unicorn. The unicorn looks very happy, doesn't she? Evie loved story time with Dad. It was the very best part of the day. One night, as Dad tucked Evie in, he said, "Tomorrow is a special day, Evie. We're going to pick out your uniform for elementary school." Now, some schools, the boys and girls and the students have to wear uniforms. The school tells them what they have to wear, a special shirt, might be a certain color, pants, a dress. But I know when you go to the Ashland Public Schools, or you don't have to, you can wear whatever you feel comfortable wearing. But at the school, she has to wear a special uniform. Think about elementary school made Evie feel all wobbly. Uh-oh, she's a little nervous too about her first day, just like many students are. And I'll give you a little secret. Teachers are always a little nervous too about the first day until they get to meet all their students. Preschool was lots of fun, but elementary school sounded scary. Evie wished that things didn't have to change. Look at, she's dreaming there, thinking that it's kind of a scary looking elementary school. The next day, Evie's wobbly feeling hadn't gone away, so she's still feeling nervous. On the bus to the store, her worries grew and grew. What if I don't make any friends at school? What if the lessons are too hard? What if the lunch is yucky? See all her worries? But then, "Look, Evie, we're here," cried Dad. So the store they're going to is called Madam Lexi's Uniform Emporium. Isn't that an interesting word, emporium? That's just a fancy word for the store if they're going to go and buy the uniform in. Madam Lexi's Uniform Emporium was brimming from floor to ceiling with clothes and shoes in every color for every occasion. "Come, Evie," smiled Lexi. "Would you like to try on your new school uniform?" The uniform fit Evie perfectly, but Evie felt wobbly. "Starting school is a big adventure," whispered Lexi. "This school uniform might be just what you need." "Don't you mean," I said school uniforms. She said, let me read that again. "This school unicorn might be just what you need." "Don't you mean school uniform?" asked Evie. Lexi just winked. Suddenly, Evie's pocket began to wiggle and jiggle. There's something in her pocket. Do you think that's the unicorn? Oh, so maybe the unicorn is something special just for Evie. Out popped a teeny tiny unicorn. His mane sparkled and his pointy horn shined with a shimmering gold light. Look how cool that is. Can you imagine having a little unicorn in your pocket of your clothes? This is Bobby, your school unicorn, whispered Lexi. Whenever you're worried, he'll be there to help you feel brave. Wow, gasped Evie. Bobby the unicorn hopped up onto her shoulder and nuzzled her cheek. The funny, wobbling feeling began to fade away. So Evie's going to have a special little unicorn to take to school on her first day. Will that help her with her butterflies? Yes. That afternoon, Bobby the unicorn helped Evie get everything ready for her first day of school. Look at that, they're packing up her backpack with pencils and crayons, a pencil sharpener, glue, a ruler. Are you putting all those things to take to school in your backpack? At bedtime, Bobby curled up on a pillow beside Evie's bed. The shimmering light from his horn filled the room with a happy glow. Looks like she's having a good night's sleep the day before school, not up worrying. The next day, Evie and Dad walked to school. Do you walk to school or do you take a bus? Or maybe a parent drives you? Standing nervously outside the classroom, Evie put her hand in her pocket and felt Bobby give her a reassuring nuzzle. Knowing Bobby was there made Evie feel brave enough to pick up her bag, wave goodbye to her dad, and go into the classroom. The classroom was full of new faces. Evie felt the wobbly feeling coming back in her belly, the butterflies. But then Bobby hopped up onto her shoulder. Evie took a deep breath. Another friend taking a deep breath when they're nervous, just like in our book with Rosie. Everyone take a deep breath and breathe out. So when you're nervous, do the same thing. Evie took a deep breath and picked out an empty chair. Hi, I'm Evie, she said. Can I sit with you? Yes, Dylan and Ava smiled. I hope if a friend asks if they can sit next to you at school that you'll say yes, just like Dylan and Ava did. Pages sticking together. Evie spent the rest of the day with her new friends. With Bobby by her side, new things didn't feel so scary, and her favorite things seemed even better. Story time was magical. Music time was funny. Playtime out at recess was exciting. And lunchtime was yummy. The day flew by, and soon it was time to go home. Evie couldn't wait to tell her dad how much fun she had at school. Do you think all her butterflies are gone now? And Bobby the unicorn has helped her. Evie and Bobby went to school together the next day and the day after that. Soon a whole week had passed, and Evie's wobbly feeling, her butterflies, had completely disappeared. She felt comfortable going to school. She was excited. She didn't have to worry anymore. No more butterflies. And look at, can you see Bobby in all the pictures with her and her friends eating lunch and playing? On Saturday morning, Evie raced downstairs. Is it time to go to school yet? No, Evie, Dad laughed. Today's Saturday. There's no school today. Oh, Evie had been looking forward to seeing her friends. Don't worry, there'll be school on Monday, said Dad. Now, why don't we go to the cafe for a special treat? Yes, please, said Evie. The cafe is like a like going to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or a little restaurant to get something to eat. On their way to the cafe, Dad and Evie walked past a familiar store. Suddenly, Evie knew what to do. So they're going by, remember Lexi's uniform emporium where they bought her uniform. Wait here, Dad. I'll only be a minute. Dashing into the uniform emporium, Evie found Lexi arranging ballet shoes. How nice to see you, Evie. I thought she might be back. Can you predict what Evie's going to do? What do you think she's going to do? She's back there with Lexi. What did Lexi give her? That's right. She gave her the unicorn, Bobby the unicorn. Do you think? What do you think? Do you think Evie's going to give Bobby back to Lexi? Let's see. Evie took a deep breath. I think it's time for Bobby to help someone else. I don't feel scared anymore. Lexi smiled a great big twinkly smile. Evie felt all warm inside. So she's going to not keep Bobby the unicorn. She says, I want someone else to use him and have him as a friend to help them feel safe and comfortable and not worried. Bobby hopped onto Evie's shoulder and nuzzled her cheek. Then with a swish of his tail, he jumped into Lexi's pocket. Evie smiled. You were right, Lexi. School is a big adventure. And I hope after a few days of going to school and meeting new friends and your teacher and seeing how things work, that you will think too that school is a big adventure and it's lots of fun. Now, do you remember at the beginning of the story, I told you I had a surprise? Well, here at the end of the book, it has directions on how to make your own school unicorn. So we'll make sure that you can see this and get the directions, and you can make your own school unicorn. And you could keep it in your pocket or your backpack. So if you're feeling a little nervous or wobbly or have the butterflies in your belly before school, you could make your own unicorn and you can decorate it. Do you remember how Bobby's unicorn lit up, the horn lit up? You could add some glitter on it or just paint it your favorite colors and just stick it in your pocket. And Bobby, the unicorn, or you can name it whatever you want, can help you get through the first few days of school and take away that wobbly feeling and those butterflies in your belly. I hope you have a wonderful back to school time. Now, I have a little poem I want to read to you before we say goodbye. It's called Now, and it's written by Prince Red Cloud. It goes like this. Close the barbecue. Close the sun. Close the home run games we won. Close the picnics. Close the pool. Close summer. Open school. So I hope you have a wonderful back to school time and you make lots of friends. And remember, if you see a friend that's feeling a little sad or looks worried or doesn't look like they have anyone to play with out at recess, could you be a good friend and go and ask them, say, hey, what's your name? And you tell them your name and you can tell each other and then you can play together. And it will make it a wonderful school year for everybody. I hope you had fun and joined me today for our back to school reading of our stories. And there's lots of other wonderful books to read if you go to the library about going back to school. And I just hope you have a great time. I'll see you next time on Calling All Kids. Bye-bye, everybody.